Good morning. Well, good morning, everyone. And it's good to see you all here today, especially those who are visiting us from the Pure Land Order. Today we have a guest speaker who returns to us. Susthama Kim is head of the Order of Amida Buddha, a Pure Land community based in the UK. She has a history of practice as a Buddhist chaplain and is trained in psychotherapy and has an active psychotherapy practice there in London. Pure Land Buddhism is noticeably different from Zen Buddhism, but it is the most widely followed sect of Buddhism in Japan, with over 20 million followers, followed by Nichiren Buddhism, which has about half as many followers, and Zen, which has about half as many, again, followers at about 9 million, or I'm sorry, 5 million. Susthama always brings to us a widening of perspective, which is much appreciated. And she will be talking today about faith and the threefold heart. So we welcome back Susthama to Heartland Zen. And with that, I will turn things over. Just give me a short minute to move my pins around. And I think we are all set. Welcome, Susthama.
Thank you very much. It's lovely to be back here and to see some familiar faces again, as well as some new ones. As Will said, this is a talk on faith and the threefold heart, which forms the foundation of the Pure Land tradition. Some people bristle when I use the word faith in a Buddhist context, so I'd like to start by introducing a word that's more commonly accepted in the Buddhist circles, the Sanskrit word shraddha. So shraddha can be broken down into two parts, shrad, which means truth or heart, and da, which means to hold or to place. And interestingly, our practice is exactly that, to hold Amida Buddha in our hearts. We call our practice the Nembutsu. And for those unfamiliar with the term, Nembutsu is Japanese and can be broken down into two parts. Nem, which means mind, and Butsu, which, as you can guess, means Buddha. So what we are doing when we are chanting the Nembutsu is keeping the Buddha in mind. For those unfamiliar with the term Amida, it's also Sanskrit and can also be broken down into two parts. Mida means measure. And when you place an a in front of a word in Sanskrit, it negates the meaning. So Amida means without measure. More precisely, our practice is about keeping in mind a Buddha who neither judges nor measures us, a Buddha who is measureless and infinite in love and light. So, to be even more accurate, our practice is about placing the truth or holding in our heart a Buddha beyond measure. In this talk, I'd like to explore how this practice of cultivating shraddha connects with other teachings found in Buddhism. I'm also aware that Will has looked at the threefold mind according to Dogen, so I thought it might be interesting to explore the threefold heart that unfolds or is cultivated when we practice the Nembutsu and which is discussed in the Contemplation Sutra. So I usually like to start with the main teaching in Buddhism, the Four Noble Truths, and specifically the first noble truth, because it's straightforward, indisputable, and easy to understand. So as you know, the first noble truth of dukkha means that we are all subject to change. We'll get old, we'll get sick, and die. And not only will we change with time, but others around us will too. Sometimes change is welcome, but at other times it's not. And what leads on from dukkha is a felt sense. For instance, if the change is desired, we feel good. If the change is unwanted, we feel bad. In other words, the suffering we experience will lead to a felt sense as well as a mental state, and vice versa. Our state of mind is a condition that will lead to experiences that follow suit. And we know how important the mind was to the Buddha from the very first verse in the Dhammapada. He tells the bhikkhus the story of the elder monk Kakupala. And if Will's covered this with you, I'm sorry, but I thought I'll read it to you now in case he hasn't. On one occasion, the elder monk Kakupala came to pay homage to the Buddha at the Jetavana monastery. One night, while pacing in meditation, the monk accidentally stepped on some insects. In the morning, visiting bhikkhus or monks found the dead insects. They thought ill of the monk and reported the matter to the Buddha. The Buddha asked whether they had seen the elder kill the insects. When they replied no, the Buddha said, "Just as you didn't see him killing, he also didn't see the insects. Besides, since the monk had already attained their arhatship, enlightenment, he could have no intention to kill and was therefore innocent." On being asked why Kakupala was blind despite being an arhat, the Buddha told a past life story. Kakupala had once been a physician. A woman had promised to become his slave along with her children if he cured her eyes. When she was healed, she lied and said her condition had worsened. Knowing this, the physician, in revenge, gave her another ointment that made her truly blind. And as a result of this evil deed, he lost his eyesight many times in later lives. And then the Buddha spoke in verse. All mental phenomena have mind as their forerunner. They have mind as their chief. They are mind-made. If one speaks or acts with an evil mind, dukkha follows like the wheel follows the ox's hoofprint. At the end of the discourse, 30,000 bhikkhus attained arhatship, together with analytical insight. So here in this very short passage, we have multiple teachings. The first one is how our mindset and feelings affect our actions and how consequences arise from this dynamic. Dukkha led to feelings, which led to a mindset, which led to an action, with results echoing far into future lives. The second teaching is that the Buddha also instructs us to eliminate negative mindsets to prevent further dukkha. And thirdly, this story tells us that deep insight can arise simply from hearing the Dharma. So we could also attain arhatship right now because we've heard this. I was also taught that the mind works in two ways. One is to observe and process data, like a computer. But unlike a computer, we also respond emotionally to whatever we perceive. Feelings arise in direct association with the object of our attention. The second function of the mind is imagination. We can create or visualize things that are unseen or invisible to the physical eye. Though these functions are different, the dynamic is the same. There is the mind's eye and there is the object of focus. Whether real or imagined doesn't matter. If we concentrate on something deeply, thoughts and feelings that are associated with that object naturally arise. This brings us to the first of the threefold devotional hearts, the profound heart. It has two aspects. The first aspect is realizing that we are bamboo. So, this is a Japanese term for foolish being of wayward passions. It means we'll get pushed and pulled this way and that, attracted to things that are pleasant and rejecting things that are unpleasant. And the second aspect is recognizing that Amida Buddha made vows to help us precisely because we are bamboo. It's not just that Amida is unconditionally loving and infinite in light. It's that this love is for us because we are foolish. This profound heart is grounded in Shraddha, faith and trust that this is so. It's not based on certainty or on hopeful belief. It's our choice to entrust our heart to the Buddha who offers us relief from our suffering. And from here unfolds the sincere heart. Sincerity arises when we reach the limits of our own power and can honestly acknowledge it. It's often the hardest heart to cultivate, as we are conditioned to be self-reliant and self-assured. We may even believe we're helping others out of pure altruism, but sincerity asks us to face our limits honestly. It doesn't mean giving up. It just means seeing clearly how far we can go and admitting when we can go no further. However, this is not easy at all because we have an ego. And when things don't go right, that ego feels humiliated. When we're not able to do the thing that we've set out to achieve, humiliation sets in. And that humiliation may put us in touch with shame, which may lead us to withdrawing and disconnecting. We're like most animals that when hurt, we need to go somewhere safe to lick our wounds. The knowledge and shraddha that Amida Buddha is there for us because we feel shame can help us to be honest about our wounds. Our Sangha has a forum called The Wide Road West, and recently someone shared a poem by Jack Hirschman called The Path, which beautifully expresses the sincere heart. I'm going to read it now. Go to your broken heart. If you think you don't have one, get one. To get one, be sincere. Learn sincerity of intent by letting life enter because you're helpless. Really. To do otherwise, even as you try escaping, let it take you and tear you open like a letter sent, like a sentence inside. You've waited for all your life, though you've committed nothing. Let it send you up. Let it break your heart. Broken-heartedness is the beginning of all real reception. The ear of humility hears beyond the gates. See the gates opening. Feel your hands going akimbo on your hips, your mouth opening like a womb. Giving birth to your voice for the first time. Go singing, whirling into the glory of being ecstatically simple. Write the poem. What I take from this poem is to take the risk to open our hearts and to love, to do things with your whole heart. In the fourth noble truth, the Buddha talks about marga, the noble eightfold path. It's often translated as write this and write that, because all 8 qualities start with samyak. For example, so this is Sanskrit words. Samyak dristi is right view, samyak samkalpa, samyak vat, samyak karmanta, and etc. But the word samyak is derived from the Sanskrit word samyank, which is an adjective meaning complete or whole or total. Although it's often written in English as write this and write that, it can also be translated as doing these things with your whole heart. And when we put our whole heart into it, we run the risk of being broken open due to the nature of dukkha. And this isn't a bad thing, especially if we have shraddha. The shraddha, you could say, is an attitude of the mind, a trusting attitude, and a mindset that is based on knowledge. And the knowledge comes from the sutras that the Buddha taught and transmitted across generations. For us Pure Land practitioners, our Shraddha is in Amida's vows, and in particular, in knowing that when we keep this Buddha in mind and call out this Buddha's name, we will be supported and loved, especially because of our suffering. So, as we have seen from the story in the Dhammapada, all moments depend on the previous one. And the Buddha is also pointing out that it isn't just the immediate future, but our future lives as well depend on our mindset now. If we act with a good mind, then happiness follows. One way to ensure that we have a good rebirth is to practice and accumulate merit. It's not surprising that we now have in many traditions within Buddhism the concept of doing good deeds, good practice in order to accumulate merit. The more we practice, the more merit. The more merit, the more chances of enlightenment. So the third heart is the heart that transfers the merit. With Shraddha in Amida Buddha, there's no need for us to accumulate merit for ourselves anymore, because we've entrusted ourselves to Amida and are confident that we will be reborn in the Pure Land, where the conditions are such that it'll be so easy to settle the mind, concentrate, and therefore attain Buddhahood. And as I already mentioned, due to the nature of how our mental states are conditioned by the object of our attention, we feel relieved knowing that Amida Buddha has come into our life, especially because of our suffering. This relief can help us to open our hearts to others. And if we see any suffering around us, it can help us feel that at least we can do something, even as little as wishing them not to suffer. Once we feel this, we can then transfer any merit we feel we have gained to others. So we don't expect to get enlightened in this lifetime. And we also don't need any merit for all the good deeds or for all the practice that we're doing, because we trust that when we die, Amida Buddha will take us to the Pure Land. So instead, our suffering leads to our calling out to Amida, which leads us to feel accepted just as we are, which then leaves us to do practice, accumulate merit, to then transfer it to the suffering that we see around us. So, thank you very much. That's yeah, that's all I have to say on that for now. But I am so happy to now invite anyone to ask any questions or to comment